I am not a patient person. I want to admit that right at the start, because this whole video is going to ask you to slow down, and I am the last person who should be asking. I check how long things take. I get bored in waiting rooms. If a kettle takes more than a minute, I start to resent it. So when I tell you that the animal we are starting with might be older than me, might have been alive and aware and going about its day before I was even born, I need you to understand that I do not say that lightly. It genuinely unsettles me, in a good way. This is the Napoleon fish. The humphead wrasser, if you want the proper name, though I have always preferred Napoleon, because there is something faintly ridiculous and faintly noble about the way it carries that bulge on its forehead, like a creature that has been promoted one too many times. It is enormous. The big ones are the size of a person curled up. And here is the part that I cannot stop thinking about. They live for decades, not years. Decades. A single one of these fish can measure its life out in the same span you measure yours. So I want to try something. I want you to stop thinking about this fish from the outside, the way you would in a normal documentary, and instead climb inside the experience of time as it might know it. Because that is really what makes the Napoleon fish so strange and so worth starting with. It does not live in the frantic blur that most ocean animals live in. Most fish are gone in a season or two. They flash into existence, they breed, they get eaten. The reef forgets them. The Napoleon fish does not get forgotten. The Napoleon fish remembers. Imagine starting small. That is the first thing. This giant began as a little fish, unremarkable, one of thousands, and it stayed small for years. Years. Think about how long a year felt to you when you were a child, how a single summer could feel like an entire era. Now stretch that across a creature that spends what amounts to its whole childhood being overlooked, being small enough to be prey, learning the reef one cautious meter at a time. There is no rush in this. There is no growth spurt where it suddenly becomes the king of the reef overnight. It happens the slow way. It happens the way mountains happen. And in that slowness, it learns its home. This is the part I find almost tender. A Napoleon fish does not wander the whole ocean. It belongs to a reef, a specific reef. And over the long unfolding of its life, it comes to know that place the way you know the house you grew up in. Every cave, every overhang, the particular corner where the current does something odd in the afternoon, the territory of the grumpy fish 2 ledges down who has been grumpy for a decade. This is not instinct alone. This is accumulated familiarity. This is a mind building a map, and then living inside the map for 30 years and more, until the map and the animal are the same thing. Now, here is where it gets genuinely hard to wrap your head around, and I have been sitting with this one for a while. The Napoleon fish can change sex. Many of them begin life as female and somewhere in the long middle of their existence become male. And I do not mean this as a piece of trivia to file away. I mean, sit inside it for a second. Imagine living one entire life as one thing, knowing the world through that body, and then crossing over and living the rest of it as something else. Not as a crisis, not as a rupture, just as another season of a very long life, the way you might move to a different country in your 40s and slowly become a slightly different person there. This fish contains 2 lives inside one continuous awareness. I do not know what that feels like. I am not sure anyone does. But it tells you that whatever is happening inside this animal is richer and stranger than we usually allow a fish to be. If you are still with me on this, if the idea of a mind like that is doing something to you the way it does something to me, that is the whole reason this channel exists, and subscribing keeps it going. No hard sell, just if it has earned it. Because here is the thing that finally got me. Divers who return to the same reef year after year sometimes report that a particular Napoleon fish seems to recognize them, comes over, makes eye contact, hangs around in a way that does not look like begging and does not look like fear. It looks like recognition. Now, I am careful with words like that because it is easy to project. But these are animals that live long enough to have history with a place and apparently with the people who keep showing up in it. A fish that has known the same human across 10 different visits has something we do not usually grant to fish. It has a past. It has someone it remembers. and it has watched everything change. This is the quiet part, the part I want to leave you sitting in. A Napoleon fish that is old now has lived through the warming of its own water. It has watched coral that was there in its youth turn pale and crumble. It has seen the fish around it thin out, generation after generation, friends and rivals and strangers blinking out while it keeps going. It is an elder in the truest sense, an animal that has outlasted its own world and is still swimming through the wreckage of it, slow and patient and unbothered on the surface, carrying a memory of how the reef used to be that no human will ever fully have access to. It remembers a richer ocean, and it has no way to tell us. That is the door I wanted to open the video with. Not a fact about a fish. A mind that has been awake and paying attention for longer than some of you have been alive in a single place through enormous change, quietly. So before we go any further, I want you to do the thing I am bad at. Sit still for a second. Think about the oldest living thing you have ever stood near. A tree, maybe. A tortoise at a zoo. An old person who had seen things you would never see. Remember that particular feeling, the one where your own short, hurried life suddenly feels very small and very fast next to something that has simply endured. That feeling is the whole video. The Napoleon fish is just the first one to hand it to you. Tell me in the comments about the oldest living thing you have ever been close to and what it made you feel. I want the real answer, not the polite one. We will be coming back to that feeling again and again. I want you to take your eyes away for a moment. Not literally. Do not close them. You are watching a video. But imagine that they have stopped being the main way you understand where you are. Imagine the water around you is green and cloudy. The kind of warm, shallow murk where you can see maybe an arm's length in front of you and not much more. And it does not matter, because you were never really relying on your eyes anyway. You know where you are through your face, through touch, through taste, through the soft front of you that reads the world the way your fingertips read things in the dark. That is the dugong. And I think it might be the gentlest animal we will meet in this entire video. Here is something that reorganized how I think about it. The dugong is, distantly, a relative of the elephant. Not a close cousin, but far back, on the same branch. And once you know that, you cannot unsee it. The slow, heavy grace of the thing, the way it grazes, the way it seems to move through its life at the pace of an animal that has never once been in a hurry and cannot imagine why it would be. It is a grazing animal, except its pasture is underwater, vast meadows of seagrass spreading across the warm shallows, and it spends its days nosing through that grass and pulling it up and feeling its way along the seafloor, with a snout so sensitive it is almost a hand. Sit with that. This is an animal that feeds the way you would eat in total darkness, by touch and by taste. The bristles on its muzzle reading the texture of each blade, sorting the good grass from the old grass, the way you might run your fingers over fruit in a bowl without looking to find the one that is ripe. Its whole understanding of dinner is intimate in a way ours almost never is. We look at our food. The dugong feels its food. It knows the meadow not as a picture but as a sensation, a landscape pressed directly against its skin, and it remembers those meadows. This is the part that started to move me. A dugong learns its feeding grounds over years, the good patches, the reliable ones, the places where the grass grows back thick after the season turns, and it returns to them. It carries a map again, like the Napoleon fish did, but this map is not made of sight. It is made of taste and touch, and the slow accumulation of good meals in good places. Imagine having a memory that is mostly flavor. A geography of your life organized by where things felt right against your face. There is something almost unbearably tender in that, and I am not sure I have the words for why. Now, you would think an animal like this, slow and solitary, drifting alone through green water, would be lonely. The dugong is mostly a solitary creature. It does not live in the tight, bright social swirl that some ocean animals do. And here is where I have to be careful, because it is so easy to look at a solitary animal and pour our own fear of loneliness into it. But I do not think the dugong is lonely. I think the dugong lives in a kind of quiet companionship that we, with our loud, crowded lives, have almost forgotten is possible. Because they are not silent, and they are not as alone as they look. Dugongs call to one another. Low sounds, chirps and trills and long, low notes, many of them at frequencies that travel through water across real distances, further than they could ever see each other. So picture this: a dugong grazing alone in the murk, no other animal in sight, and yet woven all around it, threaded through the water it cannot see through, are the voices of others. A distant call, an answer, a soft acoustic web stretched across the shallows, connecting animals who may never come close enough to touch, but who know, in the way that matters, that they are not the only one out there. That is not loneliness. That is something quieter and better. That is the knowledge of company without the noise of it. And then there is the one bond that is not quiet at all, not in its depth: the mother and her calf. A dugong calf stays with its mother for years. Years. It swims close against her, often just above her back, learning the meadows from her, learning which grounds are safe and which grass is good, learning the map by following the one creature in the world who already holds it. Among all the gentle things about this gentle animal, this is the gentlest. A long, patient, tactile childhood, spent pressed against the side of a mother who teaches you the whole world one meadow at a time by simply taking you there. Which brings me, finally, to the mermaids. You have probably heard this. Sailors, out for months, half-starved and sun-addled and aching for home, looked over the side of the ship and saw dugongs surfacing in the shallows, and they did not see a sea cow. They saw mermaids. They saw a face that held its calf the way a person holds a child, a body that surfaced and rolled and looked back at them with something in its expression that the lonely human heart desperately wanted to read as kin. And we laugh at that now. We say, how could anyone mistake this big, grey, grazing animal for a beautiful woman of the sea? But I do not laugh at it anymore, because I think those sailors were responding to something real. Not the shape, the presence. There is a dignity to a dugong, a self-contained gentleness, a sense that there is somebody in there moving slowly through a world made of taste and touch and distant familiar voices, and those exhausted men felt it before they could explain it, and they reached for the only word their hearts had for a presence that felt like that. They called it a person. They got the species wildly wrong. I'm not sure they got the feeling wrong at all. That is the dugong. Not flashy, not fast, not the animal anyone makes the poster about. But if you slowed your whole life down to the speed of grazing in green water, reading your world by feel, carrying a map made of flavor, alone, but never quite alone, because the voices are always out there in the murk, held as a child against your mother's back for years and years, until the meadows became your own, I think you would understand something the sailors only glimpsed. There is a someone in there, quiet, calm, holy itself. So I want to ask you something, and I want the honest answer in the comments. Have you ever been alone somewhere and not felt lonely at all? A place, a moment, where the solitude was the good kind, the dugong kind? Tell me where you were. I think the people who know that feeling are the ones who will understand this animal best. You did not choose your name. Somebody handed it to you before you could object, and you have been answering to it ever since. This little sound that means you, that turns your head in a crowded room that you would know anywhere even half asleep. Now imagine you had made it up yourself. As a child, before you could really do anything else, you invented a sound, and that sound became you. And for the rest of your life, everyone who loved you would call you by the name you wrote for yourself. That is how a dolphin gets its name. And I think it is one of the most quietly astonishing facts in the entire ocean. Each dolphin develops what scientists call a signature whistle, early in life, a unique pattern of sound that belongs to that individual and no other. It is not assigned. It is composed. And then it gets used exactly the way you would hope. Dolphins call each other by these whistles, across distance, through murky water. One friend announcing itself to another, one mother calling for a calf that drifted too far. They have names. They use names. They answer to them. We spent a very long time believing humans were the only animals on Earth who did anything like that. And then it turned out there were minds out in the water naming themselves before we ever showed up to notice. But to understand why that matters, you have to understand the world a dolphin actually lives in, because it is not the world you think. You are a visual animal. You trust your eyes above everything. The dolphin does not. The dolphin's primary sense, the one that does the heavy lifting, is sound. It sends out clicks and listens to what comes back, and from those returning echoes, it builds a picture of its surroundings so detailed that it borders on the unbelievable. I need you to really take this in. When a dolphin echolocates on another animal, the sound does not just bounce off the surface. It passes partway in, which means a dolphin can, in a real sense, perceive the inside of you. The air in your lungs, the shape of your skeleton, the fast little flutter of a heartbeat. To a dolphin, a frightened creature and a calm one are not telling the same story, because the fear is written in a racing heart that the dolphin can simply hear. There is no poker face underwater. There is no hiding how you feel. They perceive each other from the inside out, and I cannot stop thinking about what that does to a social life. Imagine never being able to lie about your own panic. Imagine everyone you love being able to hear your heart speed up. It is a kind of nakedness we will never experience, and they live inside it from birth. So picture the whole of it now. A pod of animals who know each other by names they invented, who can perceive each other's insides, who can hear the truth of one another's bodies across open water. The intimacy of that is staggering. These are not animals sharing a space. These are animals sharing a near-total transparency, a closeness so deep that the boundary between one dolphin and the next gets thin in a way ours never could. And out of that closeness comes the joy. Because the other thing dolphins do, more than almost any animal alive, is play. Not play with a purpose. Not practice hunting dressed up as fun. Play for its own sake. They invent games. They blow rings of air and chase them. They surf the bow waves of boats for no reason, except that it feels good to be carried fast through water. They toss things and catch them and pass them between each other like the whole ocean is a thing they get to mess around in. Live inside that for a second. Live inside a body that is fast and strong and built to feel pleasure in its own movement, surrounded by named friends who are in on the joke, and you start to understand that joy for a dolphin is not an occasional event. It might be closer to the baseline. It might just be what being a dolphin feels like on an ordinary day. If that idea moves you the way it moves me, a like on this video genuinely helps it reach other people who would feel it too. No pressure. Only if the dolphins have earned it so far, and I think they have. Because here is the other side of the coin, and there is no gentle way to walk you into it. An animal that can feel joy that deeply can also grieve. And dolphins grieve. We have watched it. A mother whose calf has died will carry the body. She will push it up to the surface again and again, the way she would for a living calf that needed to breathe, long after there is any breath left to take. For days, sometimes. The pod slows down for her. They stay close. They do not abandon her to it. She holds on to her dead child and refuses, for as long as her body will let her refuse, to accept that the small named voice she knew is not going to answer anymore. I find that almost impossible to write about calmly, so I'm not going to pretend to. We do not get to hide behind, we cannot really know what animals feel here. We can watch what she does. We can see a creature that will not let go. And whatever is happening inside her, it is not nothing. It is not instinct firing blindly. It is a mother who knew a specific individual by a specific name, who could hear that individual's heartbeat, who shared the kind of transparency I just described, now confronting a silence where that individual used to be. If that is not grief, the word has no meaning. And these bonds are not fleeting. Dolphins have been observed keeping specific friendships for decades. Particular individuals who seek each other out year after year, who travel together, who choose each other again and again across a lifetime. So the grief is not abstract. It is the loss of someone known for 30 years. It is the loss of a name you have been answering and calling for most of your life. That is the dolphin. And I wanted this one to sit at the center of the video for a reason. The dugong showed you a quiet, inner life. The Napoleon fish showed you a patient one. The dolphin shows you the whole range at once, the full instrument, joy and grief played by the same hands, because they are the same capacity. You do not get one without the other. The animals that can be flooded with the joy of a pointless game in the sun are the exact same animals that will carry a dead child for days because they cannot bear to set it down. The depth runs both directions. It always does. In them, and if you are honest about it, in you. So tell me in the comments, and only if you actually want to, the name of someone you would carry. A person, an animal, anyone. You do not have to explain. Just the name. I think the dolphins would understand a comment section like that better than they would understand almost anything else we do. There is a sense you do not have. I want to start there because it is hard to feel the turtle without first feeling the size of what you are missing. You have your 5, and you trust them, and you walk around assuming they cover the world. They do not. There is information pouring through the room you are sitting in right now that you cannot detect at all, and it has been there your whole life, and you have never once noticed it, because you were simply not built with the part that reads it. The Earth has a magnetic field. You know this in the way you know a fact, abstractly, the thing that moves a compass needle. You have never felt it. You never will. But the green sea turtle does. The turtle is born already able to read the magnetic signature of the planet, the invisible lines of force that run through the ocean and vary from place to place, and it uses them the way you use landmarks, except its landmarks are everywhere and made of nothing you could ever see. Try to hold that in your mind for a second. An animal that knows where it is on the surface of the entire Earth, through a sense you lack so completely, you cannot even imagine the texture of it. Not a map it learned. A map it was issued at birth, written into its body before it cracked out of the shell, and then, almost immediately, it leaves. This is the part that gets me. A green sea turtle hatches on a beach, scrambles down to the water in a terrifying few minutes of being the most vulnerable thing alive, and swims out into the open ocean, and then it is just gone. For years. For decades. It crosses entire ocean basins. It wanders distances that would take you a lifetime to walk, alone the entire time, no pod, no parents, no one teaching it anything, guided only by that interior sense of where it is and a pull it has not yet felt the full weight of. Imagine a childhood that is one long solitary journey across half the planet, navigated by a feeling in your own body that you never question because it is the only thing you have ever known. I keep using the word slow, and I keep meaning it differently each time. The turtle's slowness is not the dugong's gentle grazing pace, and it is not the Napoleon fish's patient endurance. It is something closer to a different speed of time altogether. These animals live across decades, and they seem to perceive their lives at a fraction of the tempo we do. A year to you is a unit you feel passing, 4 seasons, a noticeable chunk of a short life. A year to a turtle that will cross oceans for 50 of them is something else. The whole frantic human relationship with time, the deadlines, the rushing, the sense that you are always behind, simply does not apply. The turtle is not behind. The turtle is exactly where the field says it is, moving at the speed the journey takes, and the journey takes as long as it takes. But here is the thing the whole life is bending toward. The thing that pulls underneath all that wandering like a current you cannot see. Home. After all those years, after all those thousands of miles, something turns the turtle around. The female, ready to lay her own eggs, feels the pull, and she follows it back. And she does not go to just any beach. She goes to the beach where she herself was born. The exact one. She has not seen it in 20, 30, 50 years. She left it as a hatchling the size of your palm, and she returns to it as an animal that has crossed the world. And she finds it, because the magnetic signature of that one strip of sand was printed into her at birth, and she has been carrying it the entire time without knowing she was carrying it. I find that almost unbearable to think about in the best way. The certainty of it. She does not understand why. She does not reason her way home. She simply knows, with a knowledge older than thought, where home is, and she goes. There is no creature on earth more sure of where it belongs. If this is the kind of thing you came here for, the deep, strange certainty of an animal that carries the planet inside it, then subscribing is how you keep finding videos like this one. I make these because these animals deserve someone to sit with them this seriously. If you feel that too, you know what to do. Because now I have to tell you the part that turns the wonder quiet. The turtle's certainty has not changed. The world has. She follows the map that was written into her body before she hatched. The map that has never once been wrong. The map that has guided her across an entire ocean. And she arrives, and the beach is gone. Eroded away. Or walled off. Or lit up and built over and turned into something with concrete and noise where the dark, quiet sand used to be. The signature is still there in the field. The pull still leads her to the exact spot. But the place the pull was made for no longer exists. Think about what that is. An animal carrying a perfect memory of a home that the world did not bother to keep. She is not lost. That is the terrible part. She is in precisely the right location, the only one she was ever made to seek, and there is nothing there for her anymore. The inner map is flawless. The outer world broke the promise, and she has no way to understand that, no way to grieve it as grief, no way to know that the thing she spent 50 years swimming toward was taken down while she was crossing the sea. She just arrives and circles and finds that home has become a place she cannot use. I do not have a comforting line to put after that one, and I'm not going to invent one. Some things should be allowed to just sit there, heavy the way they actually are. An animal more certain of home than any of us will ever be, returning to a home that is no longer there. So I want to ask you something, and take your time with it. Is there a place you carry like that? A home you could find with your eyes closed, that exists more completely in you than it does out in the world anymore? Tell me about it in the comments. Where it was and whether you could still go back. I have a feeling some of you are going to find that question harder than you expected. Let me defend somebody who cannot defend themselves. There is an animal in the ocean that almost everyone is a little afraid of, and almost nobody can tell you why, beyond a vague sense that it is dangerous, that it has a stinger, that one of them once killed a man we all watched on television. And on the strength of that vague fear, an entire species has been miscast. Not as a monster, exactly. Worse, in a way. As a threat that is always quietly implied. You see one glide across the sand in clear water, and some old part of your brain tightens, just slightly, and you do not even question whether it should. I want to question it, because I think the stingray might be one of the most gentle, most wrongly accused animals in the sea, and I think it deserves a chapter that says so plainly. Start with how it moves, because the movement tells you almost everything. A stingray does not swim the way a fish swims. It flies. The whole flat disc of its body ripples at the edges, slow waves running outward, and it lifts and banks and glides across the seafloor with an elegance that has no business existing in something shaped like a kite. Watch one for any length of time, and the word that comes is not menace. It is grace. It moves through water the way a large, slow bird moves through air, unhurried, deliberate, beautiful in a way that seems almost aware of itself. Imagine that being your default state. Not swimming, flying, always, everywhere, your entire life spent gliding a few inches above the world. And while it glides, it is reading the seafloor through a sense that puts it in rare company. Stingrays have electroreception, the same ability that sharks have, a sensitivity to the faint electrical fields that every living body gives off. So picture the sand below, looking empty, looking like nothing. To the stingray, it is not empty at all. Buried under there, hidden from any eye, a small creature's beating life is leaking a faint electrical signature up through the grains, and the stingray feels it. Its world is part touch, part chemistry, and part this. A quiet electrical map of who is alive and hiding nearby. It senses the heartbeat of things it cannot see. It moves through a landscape lit up by the simple fact of other animals being alive in it. That is not the sensory world of a brute. That is the sensory world of something subtle, and the behavior matches the senses. Stingrays, it turns out, have personalities. Individual ones. Some are bold, some are shy, some are curious. Some want nothing to do with you. In places where divers visit the same rays again and again, the animals develop something that looks a great deal like trust. They approach. They linger. They come back. They show up at the same spots to interact with the same people, and they do it gently, with a calm, watchful curiosity that does not square at all with the creature our fear has built. These are animals capable of comfort, capable of choosing to come close, capable of being curious about you, which means capable of finding you interesting, which means there is somebody in there doing the finding. So where did the fear come from? Most of us trace it to one event, the death of Steve Irwin, killed by a stingray's barb in 2006, a genuine tragedy that millions of people watched the aftermath of and absorbed into their bones. And after that, the cultural verdict was quietly entered. Stingrays became killers. And here is what I need you to understand, because it matters. That was not an attack. A stingray's barb is purely defensive. It is a frightened animal's last resort, used when it feels cornered and crushed and out of options, the equivalent of you throwing an elbow when something pins you with no warning. These animals do not hunt us. They do not stalk us. They do not want anything to do with a creature our size, except to be left alone. The vanishingly rare times one has hurt a person, it was an animal in terror, defending its own life. We took the single worst second of a frightened creature's existence and made it the entire identity of the species. Think about what that means from the inside. Here is an animal whose whole way of being is gentle, gliding, curious, electrically tuned to the quiet life around it, willing to trust the right humans, wanting nothing but the soft floor and the warm shallows, and to be left in peace. And it lives now under a reputation built entirely from its most desperate, most defensive, most uncharacteristic moment. It does not know it has been miscast. It cannot read what we say about it. It just keeps gliding through water that has filled up with people who flinch when it comes near, and it has no idea why the flinching started. And here is the turn I want to leave you with, because I do not think this chapter is really about stingrays. You did it too. Be honest. You felt that little tightening when I described one gliding toward you. You inherited a fear of this animal from a single televised tragedy and a vague cultural mood, and you carried it, unexamined, the same way you have probably carried quiet verdicts about people, judged on someone's worst recorded moment, the 1 second that went around, while the long, gentle truth of who they actually are never trended, never went viral, never got the chance to overwrite the headline. We do to each other exactly what we did to the stingray. We let the worst frame become the whole portrait. The stingray cannot ask us to look again. The people in your life can, and usually do not get hurt either. So the question for the comments is a real one, and a little uncomfortable, which is the point. What is something, an animal, a place, a person, anything, that you were taught to fear or dislike before you ever looked at it yourself, and that turned out to be gentle the whole time? Tell me what changed your mind. I want to read the moment you looked again. Point to where you think. Go on, actually do it. Almost everyone points at their head, somewhere behind the eyes, because that is where you feel yourself to be. That is where the lights seem to be on. That is the little cockpit you have always assumed you are piloting this body from. Now I want you to spend the next few minutes with an animal that would not understand the question. Not because it is stupid, because for the cuttlefish the answer might be everywhere at once, smeared across its whole skin, and the idea of a single command center behind a single pair of eyes might be the truly strange notion. This is the cuttlefish, and I have put it here, deep in the video, on purpose, because by now you trust me enough to follow me somewhere genuinely weird. And this is the weird one. This is the chapter where I cannot fully bring the animal back to you, where the gap between its mind and yours does not close. And I want to be honest about that up front. Some of these creatures we can meet part way. The cuttlefish lives on the far side of a door we cannot walk through. The best I can do is hold it open and let you feel the draft of something genuinely alien on the other side. Start with color, because it breaks the rules immediately. The cuttlefish changes color faster and more beautifully than almost anything alive, washing waves of pattern across its body, matching the seafloor, flushing with emotion, putting on displays that look like something projected rather than something grown. You would assume naturally that it sees all this color in glorious detail. It does not. As far as we can tell, the cuttlefish is colorblind. Its eyes do not see the colors its body produces. Sit in that contradiction for a second, because it is one of the strangest in nature. An animal that is a genius of color and cannot see color with its eyes. And here is the leading idea for how it pulls that off. And it is the kind of idea that should make the back of your neck prickle. Its skin may sense light directly. There are light-detecting cells in the skin itself, which means the cuttlefish may, in some real sense, perceive its surroundings through its body rather than only through its eyes. It might taste the light of the world on its skin, the way you feel sun on your arm, except turned all the way up into something closer to sight. It does not look at the reef and then decide how to match it. The looking and the matching might be happening in the same surface, all over it at once. And that surface does more than perceive. It speaks. This is the detail that genuinely undoes me. A male cuttlefish, courting a female on one side of his body, while a rival male hangs on the other side, has been observed showing two completely different patterns at the same time. Seductive display facing the female. Aggressive or disguised pattern facing the rival. One animal, one body, two messages, two identities, broadcast simultaneously in two directions. Try to imagine being that. Try to imagine holding two different faces at once, not switching between them, not faking one, but genuinely presenting two truths to two audiences in the same instant, your left side in love and your right side at war. You cannot imagine it. I cannot imagine it. There is no human experience that maps onto it, because your one face can only do one thing at a time, and your one self can only point in one direction. The cuttlefish is not divided when it does this. It is just built to be more than one thing at once, and it does not appear to find that difficult at all. That is what I mean about thinking with your skin. Cephalopod minds may not be centralized the way ours are. The intelligence might be distributed, spread out, as much in the body as in the head, which means the cuttlefish may not experience itself as a little pilot behind the eyes the way you do. It may experience itself as a whole responsive surface, thinking and sensing and speaking with every inch of itself, a self with no single location. We do not have a word for that because we have never needed one. We have only ever been the one kind of mind. If holding open a door like this is the kind of thing you want more of, a like on the video tells me the strange chapters are landing, and it helps these ideas find the other people who like to stand in this doorway too. That is the only ask. Back to the alien. Because there is one more thing, and it changes the color of everything I have just told you. The cuttlefish does all of this. The impossible color, the two-faced courtship, the distributed mind blooming across its skin. In about 1 year, maybe 2, that is the whole life. It hatches, it grows fast. It becomes this dazzling, shifting genius of the reef, and then it is gone. The males pour everything into those elaborate displays, some of the most extravagant courtship in the entire animal world. And then, shortly after, they die. The whole brilliant performance is essentially the end of the story. They burn the entire candle in one bright go. I keep turning that over against the Napoleon fish from the start of this video, the patient elder measuring its life in slow decades. The cuttlefish is the exact opposite end of the instrument. Not a long, quiet unfolding, but a short, blinding flare. An entire existence, with all that strange richness in it, compressed into the span of time you might spend on a single chapter of your own life. And I find myself wondering what that does to feeling. Whether a life that's short and that vivid runs at a different emotional temperature. Whether everything is more intense when there is so little time to be it, I do not know. The door does not open that far, but I suspect that if the cuttlefish feels anything at all, it feels it fast and bright and completely. And here is where I am not going to do the thing I have done in other chapters. I am not going to turn this one around and show you yourself in it, because I do not think you are in it. I think the whole gift of the cuttlefish is that it is not a mirror. It is proof that minds can be built on principles ours will never run on, that consciousness might not need a center, that a self can be spread across a skin and pointed 2 ways at once and lit up by colors its own eyes cannot see, and that all of this can rise and fall in the space of a single year. You do not get to feel understood here. You get something rarer. You get to stand at the edge of a kind of being you will never have and feel how large the territory of possible minds actually is and how small a corner of it you happen to live in. So tell me in the comments, and think about it honestly, because it is a hard question. What do you think it would feel like to think with your whole body instead of just your head? Not the science. Your guess. Your imagining. I genuinely want to read what you come up with because none of us can know, and that is exactly why it is worth asking. There is nothing here. That is the first thing to understand. Picture the open ocean, not the reef, not the kelp, not the busy shallows where every chapter so far has lived, but the true blue, the deep water far from any coast, and look around. Nothing. No floor in sight. No surface worth noting. No landmark, no edge, no reference for how big the space is. Just blue going out forever in every direction, and blue going down past where the light gives up. To you, this is one of the most frightening places on Earth. The open blue is where the human mind starts to panic. All that emptiness, all that nothing to hold on to. I want you to spend this chapter with an animal for whom that same emptiness is simply home, and not a frightening home, but a peaceful one. Maybe the most peaceful life in the sea. This is the whale shark, the largest fish in the world. An animal the size of a bus, the size of a small building, moving through that endless blue. And here is the first gentle joke the ocean plays. The biggest fish that has ever lived eats some of the smallest food there is. Plankton. Tiny drifting specks. This enormous creature does not hunt anything, does not chase anything, does not fight anything for its meal. It opens its vast mouth, and it moves slowly forward through water thick with tiny life, and it simply takes in what is already there. Think about what that removes from a life. No pursuit, no ambush, no struggle, no kill, no contest, just slow forward motion with the mouth open, letting the ocean feed you as you pass through it. I keep coming back to how much that simplifies things. Almost every animal in this video carries some pressure. The dolphin has its complicated social web. The turtle has its desperate pull toward a vanishing home. The stingray carries our fear. The whale shark seems to have set all of that down. It does not need to compete, because nothing else wants the cloud of plankton the way it does. It does not need to hide, because at that size, full-grown, almost nothing in the ocean is a threat. It does not need to chase because its food does not run. Strip away the need to fight, and the need to flee, and the need to hunt. And what is left? Something I think is very close to peace. A life of slow being, moving through the largest open spaces on the planet with no enemies and no hurry and no fear. And the scale of that life is almost impossible to hold in your head. The whale shark does not live in a territory the way the Napoleon fish does, a single reef known corner by corner. The whale shark's home is the basin. It crosses thousands of kilometers. It moves across entire stretches of ocean that would take a ship days to cover, traveling through water so vast and so empty that for long stretches there may be no other large animal anywhere near it at all. Its sense of the world is not a place. It is an expanse. It experiences the ocean at a scale that almost nothing else alive ever touches, the full, enormous openness of it, and it moves through that openness slowly, calmly, as though it has all the time and all the room in the world. which, in a way, it does. It is mostly alone out there, and I want to be careful here the same way I was careful with the dugong, because we are so quick to read solitude as sadness. The whale shark is largely solitary. Now and then, where a great bloom of plankton gathers, they come together, many of them feeding in the same rich patch, a brief loose crowd of giants. But that is the exception. The default is one whale shark, alone, in the blue. And I do not think it is lonely, any more than I think the dugong was. I think it is something we do not have a clean word for. Solitude without loss. Being alone without anything missing. The kind of aloneness you might feel on a mountain at dawn, where the emptiness is not absence, but room. Not a lack of something, but the presence of space itself. And yet, for all that solitude, there is a thread of connection in this story too, and it is a quiet one. Whale sharks appear to recognize people. Divers who return to the same gathering places, year after year, have come to believe that particular individual sharks know them, seek them out, choose to move alongside them, tolerate, and maybe even invite a closeness that an animal that size never has to grant. Think about that. The biggest fish in the ocean, with no need of you at all, nothing to gain, no food in it, no safety in it, choosing to swim beside a small, soft human it has met before. There is no survival reason for that, which is exactly what makes it feel like something more than survival. It feels like a being so at peace, so free of need, that it has room left over for something like curiosity, something like company, chosen for its own sake. If a slow channel that takes these animals this seriously is the kind of thing you want more of, subscribing is what keeps it alive, and it feels right to ask for it here, on the calmest animal of them all, with no urgency in my voice, only if it has earned a place in your week, because that, in the end, is the feeling I most want you to take from this one. Not awe at the size, although the size is staggering. The peace. Here is the largest fish on Earth, and its entire life is a slow, gentle drift through vast open water, feeding on the smallest things, fighting nothing, fearing almost nothing, alone in a way that is full rather than empty, occasionally choosing closeness for no reason at all. If you could pour your own mind into a body for one afternoon and feel what it feels, I think you would come back changed. I think you would come back slower. I think the open blue that terrifies you now might, just for a moment, feel the way it feels to the animal that lives there. Like room, like quiet, like enough. And maybe that is the closest any of us gets to peace. Not a place with no emptiness in it, but a self so unhurried and so unafraid that the emptiness stops being something to escape and starts being somewhere to rest. The whale shark has that. Most of us spend our whole lives reaching for it. It just swims. So here is what I want to know honestly in the comments. Where is your open blue? The place, real or imagined, where you feel that exact kind of peace, the unhurried, unafraid, nothing missing kind. Some of you will name a place. Some of you will realize you are still looking for it. Both answers are worth telling me. You would have swum right past this one. That is the truth, and it is where I want to end, so let me say it plainly. After everything you have felt in this video, the patient old wrasse and the grieving dolphin and the cuttlefish, thinking with its skin and the whale shark drifting through all that peaceful blue, here is an animal you would not have given a second look. A small bright reef fish. Common. Everywhere. The kind of fish that is so ordinary it becomes scenery, a flicker of color in the background of somebody else's photo of something more important. The angelfish. And I have saved it for last on purpose, because if this video has done its job, you're about to feel something about this little fish that you would never have felt an hour ago. Because it has an inner life too. That is the whole point. That is the thing I have been walking you toward this entire time. Start with the partner. Many angelfish mate for life. Not for a season, not for a seemingly good year, but for life. Picture two of them moving through the same patch of reef, day after day, year after year, almost always within sight of each other, two small, bright bodies threading the coral in a kind of constant, quiet partnership. Imagine sharing every single day of your existence with one specific other being. Not dramatically, not with grand gestures, just the steady fact of company, the other one always there, always close. The two of you knowing each other so completely and for so long that you move through the world as a pair rather than as two singles who happen to overlap. We make whole films about humans searching for that. The angelfish simply lives it. In a body the length of your hand, in a corner of reef you would have swum past without slowing down. And that corner of reef is everything to it. This is the intimacy of a small territory, and it rhymes with something you have felt already in this video. The Napoleon fish, knowing its reef cave by cave, the dugong returning to its meadows. But the angelfish's world is smaller still, and somehow that makes it more tender, not less. A patch of coral learned so thoroughly that every overhang is familiar, every neighbor is known, every regular threat has a face and a pattern. The angelfish does not roam ocean basins like the whale shark. Its whole life happens in a space you could swim across in a minute. But it knows that space the way you know the few rooms you have loved most, completely, intimately, down to the light at different hours. A small world, held closely, is still a whole world. And it lives that life out in the open, which I find quietly brave. The angelfish is brightly colored, vivid. It does not hide. In a reef, where so much is about camouflage and concealment, the angelfish moves through bright water as a bright thing, visible, unbothered, beautiful in plain sight. I do not want to overread that, but I will say this much. There is something about an animal that simply exists openly as the colorful creature it is, going about its small life in full view, neither hiding nor performing, just being its bright self, in its bright corner of the sea. It is not trying to be seen. It is not trying not to be. It just is, completely. And it is lovely, and almost nobody is looking. That is the part I want to press on, gently before we close. Almost nobody is looking. And the angelfish is not rare. There are millions of them. Millions of small, bright fish, each one in its own small territory, many of them beside a partner they have kept for years, each one knowing its few square meters of reef intimately, each one living a small, full life that no documentary will ever be made about. And that is just the angelfish. Now multiply that out. Every reef fish you have ever glanced past, every flicker of movement in the blue you did not bother to track. The ocean is not a backdrop with a few special minds scattered through it like rare jewels. The ocean is crowded with minds. It is dense with them, packed wall to wall with small lives that matter to the ones living them. Every single one a someone, going about a day, in a world. That is what I most wanted you to walk away with. We started this video with the easy ones, the charismatic ones, the animals that make eye contact and seem to ask to be understood. The rasa that recognizes a diver. The dolphin with a name. It is not hard to grant an inner life to those, but the real shift, the one that changes how you see the whole sea, is the angelfish. Because once you accept that the small, common, overlooked fish has a world inside it too, you cannot stop there. You have to grant it to all of them. And then the ocean stops being a beautiful empty place you visit and becomes what it actually is. A vast and crowded society of minds, almost all of them small, almost all of them unwatched. Every one of them awake inside its own life right now, while you sit here, far away, finally thinking about them. I asked you some questions across this video. The oldest living thing you ever stood near. A home you carry that the world did not keep. Your own open blue. I asked because I wanted you thinking about your inner life while you considered theirs, so that by the time you reached this small, bright fish, the wall between you and them had gotten thin. That was the whole design. Not to make you love the ocean more, although I hope you do. To make you unable to look at any animal in it, even the smallest, even the most ordinary, and see nothing there. Because there is something there. There is always something there. If this video did that to you, even a little, a like is the honest way to tell me. And it is the only thing that helps a slow, strange channel like this one reach the next person who needs to feel it. I will not ask twice. You know by now whether it earned it. So here is the last question, and it is the one that matters most to me. Now that the video is over, what is the most ordinary animal in your own life, the one you have walked past 1,000 times without thinking, that you are suddenly not so sure is as empty inside as you assumed? Tell me in the comments. Name the small, overlooked life you're about to start seeing differently. That answer, more than any other, is the reason I made this whole thing.